I don't tend to begin or ask the question of sort of like where this kind of idea come from, but when dealing with a show that is so creative and so original like this, Peter, I can't help but ask about the kind of genesis of this idea and what kind of formed the kind of the beginnings of Constellation in your mind.
Well, the producers came to me and they wanted to do a space show, and I've always been very interested in space and the kind of the reality of it, the kind of nuts and bolts reality of what it's like up there and what the experience of astronauts is, and increasingly fascinated by the effect that's called the overview effect that it has on the personality when you leave the Earth and you see the Earth, and all of a sudden you're kind of, the umbilical cord is severed and you're away from everything that you've ever known and everybody that you've ever known. And it seems to change people, understandably. And some people come back full of spirituality and wisdom, and some people come back and they don't, and the Earth doesn't make sense to them. And I wanted, alongside other weird, spooky stories that I'd heard about space, I wanted to see if they could all knit together into something that explained that effect, that maybe the Earth, maybe there is something different, maybe you do go somewhere else and come back to a place that you've never visited before.
Michelle, when you direct something where there are scenes kind of set in space and on sort of spacecrafts, that setting has got such a rich history in cinema and in kind of TV. I just wondered, are your reference points a kind of amalgamation of other space set projects and also reality? And were there any particular kind of big inspirations here?
I would say most of the inspiration I got was from actual footage from space, because we wanted it to feel very grounded and real when they're on the ISS. It's not heightened there. What happens is slightly heightened. And so I watched a lot of footage. I actually put 3D goggles on and did a spacewalk myself, both inside the ISS and exterior. And then I would say I pulled inspiration from Interstellar, Gravity, Ad Astra. You can't help but watch those things. And then I also really loved watching Bridge of Spies, because it is very voyeuristic. There's a sense of paranoia, and we wanted that sense in itself. I wanted to create a sense of claustrophobia up there, that Jo is trapped and that she's very much alone, but then again, is she? And so you also have a sense of geography. When you jump back wide and you see her in the space capsule, you see her moving through it, and you get the feeling of, is there something else up there with her? And ultimately, is it herself?
In regards to both writing and directing these characters and kind of trying to understand them yourselves, I know this might sound kind of a bit silly, but is it actually something quite comparable emotionally with being in the film industry and being kind of an astronaut, in terms of being away from your family for kind of lengthy periods of time, going off into these kind of weird kind of worlds and then coming back? I just wondered if you were able to draw on that at all.
Well, I think yes, because basically not everybody gets to spend a year in space, but everybody knows what it's like to, if you're a parent, you know what it's like to have anxieties about leaving your child, have anxieties about working away, especially I think if you're a mother. And I wanted to make all of these weird things very relatable in terms of the emotional situations, very kind of understandable in terms of the emotional situations. But I think Michelle can, I think you have feelings and opinions about that.
I think what you just said is very true, that it's very relatable. And I would say, not that I would ever say that I can understand what it is like to spend a year in space, but I can understand what it's like to be part of something where you absolutely have to be present. And I would imagine when you're an astronaut and you're in space, you must be present, and you must deal with your present situation and realities, like many things in life. And it's the same when you're telling a story, when you're directing and you're working with all these fabulous people and you're collaborating on something, you've got to be present. At the same time, we all have our lives. We have family, we have our children, most importantly, or our whatever relatives we have or friends that we have that are important to our day-to-day. And you have to separate yourself from that, focus on what you're doing in the present, but still be connected to that. And I think that is in itself challenging. First and foremost, for Jo's character, we wanted her to be a mom. And so we start her out in the ISS having a conversation about brushing her teeth with her daughter, a conversation I have every morning with my daughter. But she happens to be an astronaut who's floating through space. And she's a very powerful, strong woman, but she's also a mom. And we wanted that to be very humanizing, very relatable for everyone.
But you see footage of astronauts having conversations with their kids over FaceTime or whatever, and maybe their kid is having a bad time at school, or they've been naughty, or they've thrown something at their grandma, and it's those moments that you really feel that you need to be connected, but you happen to be 250 miles in that direction, and I mean that must be really difficult to deal with. And I think that drives right to the kind of core relationship of the show, which is Jo's relationship with her daughter. And
I think you made a really interesting comparison, though, with astronauts in a film crew, because you become a family, and I can be off in the corner of the stage singing goodnight songs to my daughter on my phone, and they can hear it, but they give me my space. And I'm sure it's the same thing that happens in space with the astronauts. You can't help but not be part of everybody's lives because you are together and not trapped in the ISS, I suppose you are, but on a film set, you are on these locations. You become another family.
Brilliant. It was a wonderful answer. Thank you so much, guys. Best of luck with the release of the show.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey!